Is Marcus Rogers trying to save face? Because recently he had a discussion with Alan Parr. And in that discussion, when they talked about Mark 16 and the picking up snakes and drinking poison, Marcus said that he believes all of that verse. And then, a couple days later, he drops a video talking about a woman who had a snake in her back, and Marcus pulled it out. Hey, it's Ricky Gantz with G220 Ministries, and I'm back again with another video dealing with Marcus Rogers. Why continue to deal with Marcus Rogers? Well, if you go all the way back to 2014 or 15, I don't exactly remember the exact date, but it was in that time frame. People were asking me about Marcus Rogers. He began to post all these videos on social media along with Joshua Fairstein and some other people, and so I watched a few of his videos because people had asked me, what do you think about this guy? And red flags went up all over the place. And so I started to dig in a little bit deeper to what he teaches and realize this man's a oneness Pentecostal. And oneness Pentecostalism is not some secondary issue. It's not adiaphora. It's not some thing where we can just say, oh, let's just have liberty and let's have unity. No, it's an attack against the very nature, the essence of God. And so Marcus Rogers is not a brother in Christ. That's plain, that's simple. I mean, the scriptures bear record to the fact that there is one God, yet three distinct persons. The Father is not the Son is not the Father is not the Spirit is not the Father and the Spirit are not the Son, and the Son is not the Spirit or the Father. They're distinct, yet one in essence, one in nature. Now, I understand that Marcus and many people don't understand that, or they don't grasp that, and I get that. But to outright deny it, which is what Marcus does, and then when he's been corrected or been given responses with answers, he rejects the truth and holds on to his false teaching. Now, that is not the content of what I'm going to address here today. Yet again, Marcus, from this interaction that he had with Alan Parr, I thought it was interesting because he has this interaction with Alan Parr. Alan Parr brings up Mark 16 and mentions about the drinking of poison, taking up snakes, that if you're going to believe in speaking in tongues and casting out demons, then you also need to affirm these other things that are mentioned in Mark 16. And Marcus Rogers says he does believe in these things. He does believe in picking up snakes. He does believe in that he could drink poison and not be harmed. Now, he qualifies that, which, again, I think anybody who is false and knows they're false would qualify that, because that's a dangerous thing to do if you mislead people to believe that you could just go and pick up poisonous snakes or drink poison. That's going to harm you. That is not common sense. And when Paul gets bit by that viper, by that snake, after he is shipwrecked, it's not because he was just, oh, it's a poisonous snake. Let me show my faith to these people. I'll just pick up this poison. No, he was gathering sticks to throw it on the fire, and a viper comes and bites him. It's not the same thing as we even see some of these quote-unquote churches that are not really churches at all, that are snake-handling churches, where they've got these rattlesnakes and they're up there dancing around. I've seen a video before of this guy doing this, and he gets bit a few times by a rattlesnake. Has to be taken to the hospital. It's foolish. It's ridiculous. Don't do that. Common sense says don't do it, okay? Well, it seems like Marcus was trying to save face, because this video between him and Alan Parr took place on December 10th. And on December 13th, Marcus drops a video about a woman who was in their service that needed some deliverance, and she had a snake in her back. And Marcus, wouldn't you know, Marcus, who says he does agree with this snake handling, took the snake out of her back. But it wasn't a real snake. it was some spiritual thing, that they're removing this demon, this python spirit, and there's no video. There's no other people coming forward and saying, this legitimately took place. And if they were to do that, I still would cry, foul, wrong, because you're only doing it to manipulate people. But I do find it interesting that in an age where we all have cell phones and everybody picks it up to record every little thing that's happening. I mean, you could be seeing a woman getting smacked around out on the streets, and instead of people going and helping this woman, people take out their cell phones and they record it. That just, again, shows you the total depravity of man. But if this woman has a snake and you're pulling a snake out of this woman's back, don't you think people would have video recording this? Or other people would be there to testify these things with you? And if it's not true, consider that. These other people that claim to be of God making lies for the sake of saving face? Possibly because, of course, he told Alan Parr he believes this. So let's listen to this little clip where he's speaking to Alan Parr about this, and then a portion of where he talks about he pulled this snake from the woman's back. Again, remember, the interaction that he had with Alan Parr was on the 10th of December, and then on the 13th, he drops this video talking about pulling a snake out of a woman's back. That just seems kind of suspect to me. I mean, wouldn't you think that's kind of suspect that here you're having a conversation about a snake, about snake handling and touching snakes or getting bit by snakes and not being harmed, and then you're pulling a snake out of a woman's back? It's a bit suspect,
All right, so there's a couple things that I want to say about that. I guess so. With Mark 16, the first thing you said was, well, if you have a study Bible, that verse isn't technically, supposed to be there. Well, I don't believe that. I also believe the second part: they shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. I believe that this verse in 18 is pretty much saying that we're going to be protected and covered, not that you should go grab a snake, unless God is directing you or telling you to do certain things. You know what I'm saying? Like as Peter stepping off the boat, people would say, oh, Peter, you shouldn't do that. Right. So if you go do something out of your own carnality or, feelings or emotions, then yeah, you're going to get yourself messed up. But I believe that verse is simply saying, if you believe, nothing's going to hurt you, nothing's going to harm you. They shall lay hands on the sick, shall recover. So last night we were at the church very late, casting out devils out of people, probably 3 or 4 hours after the service. And I had one of the most craziest experiences that I've had, like casting out devils. And I've seen a lot of crazy stuff, right? But we pulled a snake out of a woman's back, right?
Does that not seem suspect to you? I mean, does that not seem like he's literally trying to save face? Because let's be honest, myself included, this being a second video that I'm making about this interaction from Alan Parr and Marcus Rogers, and there's so many other people who have made some really good videos exposing the whole entirety of the conversation and many other things that were brought up in that conversation. And so there's a lot of heat there. There's a lot of heat for Alan Parr to kind of respond to make it known whether or not he actually does believe Marcus is a brother, because in that show he does platform him that way. And again, as I said, Marcus denying the Trinity is not a brother in Christ. Let's stop platforming people that are not brothers as brothers. It's one thing to have someone who's unsaved or a heretic come on your program and discuss it, so long as you make it clear to your audience and his audience that you do not see him as a brother in Christ. I know that's usually the pushback people get, is like, why can't we have unity? And this is what Marcus seems to want to push all the time. And the reason he wants to do that is the same reason Satan wants unity. Don't worry about doctrine. Don't worry about having differences when it comes to essentials, because let's just embrace everybody. Let's just have unity. Well, you can't have unity with heretical teachings. Unity only comes with truth. Unity only comes with truth. So when you are pushing and promoting false teaching, there's not going to be unity there. So the reason that I bring this up and why I believe this is very suspect of Marcus, and I'm sure others believe this as well. I don't know. You tell me what you think. But here's why. Because he brings up the very verse and the fact that people have an issue with this verse. Now, he just had this conversation with Alan Parr on the 10th. And now on the 13th, he's having this video where he's saying he's pulling the snake out of this woman's back. And he mentions this about the pushback that they get.
And then the verse hits me, right? They shall take up serpents. And it was so crazy because you guys know, like, this is a verse that people kind of use to mock, when we say these signs shall follow them that believe, they shall cast out devils, they shall speak with new tongues. Some people try to use that like, oh, you guys aren't taking up serpents, you guys aren't drinking, poison and things like that. But I always looked at the verse more as like protection. Paul got bit by a snake, he was protected. So that's kind of how I looked at the verse. But when I felt the verse in my spirit, I was like, God, you want me to take the snake out of her back?
So what do you say? Is Marcus suspect here? It just seems a little convenient that just a few days after his interaction where this verse is brought out about handling snakes and not being harmed, Marcus then pulls a snake out of a woman's back? That seems a bit shady to me. What do you think? Let me know.